All right, you guys, before we get into today's episode of the pod, you guys have to subscribe because I'm looking at you and you are not subscribed to the channel yet. And also you have to hit the notification bell because you're not going to know when I post if you don't have notifications when I post. And then also share the video, you guys, so all your family, friends, anybody you may know can tune into this podcast. And then also like the video so I know you guys are liking these episodes. And then also comment down below who you guys would like to see on this podcast. It could be anybody. Just let me know. And then also follow my social medias. I'm going to pop them on the screen so you guys can stay up to date with everything to do with this podcast. And then also check out the Spotify version as well. It's going to be in the description. So click that link if you want to listen to the Spotify version. And then also the take.sport.blog. I am a sports writer. So go ahead and check out those articles. If you guys do not click that link, you guys are going to be missing out on some of the best articles you'll ever read. So make sure to go click that link below. But let's go ahead and get into this pod, you guys. Welcome to another episode of the Take Podcast. I am your host, Jackson Burleson, and in today's episode, I'm going to start off with my take of the day. Now, my take of the day is you need to bring the beer snake back to the XFL. Now, I don't understand why you would even ban it, but if you don't know what happened in week 1 of the XFL, I'll kind of fill you in. So basically, the DC Defenders were playing against the Seattle Dragons to open up the weekend, and they usually do a beer snake in tradition in the stands. It's a pretty well-known sports celebration or whatever you want to call it in the stands, and there's a lot of cups. You like stack them up and you like make a huge snake. It's like you stack a bunch of cups up and fans like hold them up. It's actually pretty cool. I had no idea what it was really until about 20 minutes ago, but it honestly looks sick. Like, I don't know why you would ban that. I mean, if you're an XFL guy, you should want to keep that in there because number one, it draws eyes to the sport, which is a very good thing. And number two, you're on ESPN, so you got a bunch of guys talking about it anyways. So I think they should bring the beer snake back. But guess what the DC Defenders fans did instead of the beer snake? Because security guys, they were trying to get the cups, taken away because they couldn't do the beer snake. So the security was like, okay, we're not allowing that. I don't know why they would do that, but the fans decided to throw lemons onto the field. Like, that is honestly so funny. Like, there were dozens of them. Dozens. Like, they were all over the place. Like, the Seattle Dragons, they were on their own 6 or 7 yard line or something like that. And they were on the side of the field, which the majority of the Defender fans were, and they just started throwing lemons at them. I'm just like, I have never seen that before. And I was just watching the highlights of the game when I found that out. I didn't find it out from like the articles or anything like that. Because when you look up XFL right now, you literally see the first thing that pops up is lemon on football field. Why they banned the beer snake. It's honestly hilarious. Like, I think that's honestly a fantastic way to open up an XFL league that has really struggled in relaunching in past years. And this has really been a very different launch from past years because, number one, you got new ownership. In previous years, when they've tried to launch the XFL, Vince McMahon, who is the head of the WWE, which is sports and entertainment. Now, I'm sure you guys all know the WWE is scripted. Sorry if I spoiled any surprise for some of the people, but it's true. And Vince McMahon being ahead of the XFL was just not going to, put the players in good positions to get to the next level from that league. He wanted to make it a fan-controlled football league, which we'll get into that in a little bit as well. But, I like the way Dwayne Johnson and Danny Garcia are kind of, facilitating this league. Number one, they're making it very player-oriented. Number two, I think they're making it very coach-oriented as well. I mean, they're giving a lot of, former NFL players first-time head coaching opportunities. I mean, Hines Ward is the head coach of the San Antonio Brahmas, which is one of the 8 teams in the XFL. And if the XFL were not so concerned about, bringing NFL players in, this would not have an opportunity presented to itself for Hines Ward, because the chances of him getting an NFL coaching job right away with no experience being a wide receiver coach or offensive coordinator is just very, very slim. You really won't see that in today's league. I mean, it's so hard for a coach to get hired that has experience now, whether from a non-experienced coach. But I think it's a great opportunity for the coaches as well. And then it's a great opportunity for the fans, I think, and the ownership. Anybody who, number one, it makes more money, but the fans, they get year-round football. So as soon as the NFL is over, we don't have to sit here and wait until August for the NFL to start. And we're just like, oh, we're waiting for football. Now it's here. And you get to see former NFL players who are playing in this league. Now, not everybody is a former NFL player in this league, but you got guys like, AJ McCarron, Josh Gordon, guys who have been in the league for at least 5 years. Now, some of the guys are in this league because they have had struggles in the NFL, and we will kind of get into that later. But speaking of a guy who is struggling, Ben DiNucci threw 2 interceptions in his first XFL game against the DC Defenders. That is, oh yeah, and by the way, after they threw the lemons on the field in Washington, D.C., Ben DiNucci threw a pick 6. So distractions are getting to him. But Ben DiNucci, he was a former Cowboys third-string quarterback. The guy wasn't really that great. I don't have anything against the guy personally, but because I don't know him, but he just doesn't make great decisions, never really made great decisions. He has very good arm talent. He has the potential to be a decent quarterback in the NFL, but his decision-making is just really bad. His 2 interceptions both came in zone coverage, and, zone coverage is tough. I get it, but you got to be able to read the field, and you got to be able to see the gaps when they're there. And Ben DiNucci just, he's continuing to make the same mistakes that he was making in the NFL. So, I don't really see him getting back to the NFL, to be honest with you. But, we'll see what the rest of the season looks like. It's only one game. The Dragons almost won the football game. He had a chance at the end of the game to put him back on top with a game-ending drive, but it just didn't pan out, which is okay. Things like that are not going to always, go your way. But I think the Seattle Dragons have the best team in the XFL, because they got DiNucci and they have Josh Gordon. Now, Josh Gordon, he should be in the NFL. I'm honestly surprised to see him in this league because, when he was in his prime, he had 1,600 yards receiving and 9 touchdowns in the best NFL season of his career. And then he kind of got in trouble with marijuana. There's a debate up in the air of should he have been suspended as long as he was? Calvin Ridley, he went through the gambling thing, and he's only being suspended for a year. And then, Josh Gordon was suspended for 3 years. And then 2 years. He was out of the league for a long time. And now, it's kind of a debate, should he have been suspended or not? I don't think Josh Gordon should have been suspended that long. I definitely do think he should have gotten suspension time, but not for several seasons. But the fact that he stayed in shape throughout those suspensions is pretty remarkable. The guy's still huge. He's jacked. He's super fast. He's just a big receiver. He takes up a lot of space. Against the DC Defenders defense, he was always open. He has great hands. He was always able to create space with his body. I just like Josh Gordon's game. And, he's been through a lot since, kind of getting in trouble in the NFL. He's been in and out of the league. He actually played in the fan-controlled football league for the Zappers, which is honestly kind of funny because the Zappers are owned by Dalvin Cook and Bob Menery. Both of those guys have stake in that team, which is honestly pretty incredible. And if you guys don't know who Bob Menery is, he's just honestly a very funny sports commentator guy. He's hilarious. He posts these Instagram videos that are literally so funny. There'll be a game going on, and he'll just do the most hilarious commentary ever behind it. But if you guys don't know what the fan-controlled football league is exactly, I'll kind of explain it to you. So the fan-controlled football league, I mean, it's been around since 2017. It kind of got some traction around 2020, 2021. But it's an indoor football league. It's 7-on-7. There's no punting. There's no kicking. But the interesting part about it is rock, paper, scissors replaced the coin toss. So you play rock, paper, scissors to decide who gets the ball in the fan-controlled football league. It's honestly pretty funny, but it's pretty cool at the same time. I mean, it's a little different. And then the fans, this is where the fan-controlled part comes in. The fans pick the offensive plays, but in instant replays, the fans get to decide the outcome of those replays. So if there's a challenge or, if there's a catch that, need to be reversed, I mean, they have those decisions, which is pretty cool to me because, that's the only league that you can do that in. Now, I know the XFL is trying to take that step before this relaunch, but I think that's pretty cool to still see a fan-controlled football league. Now, the offensive plays, it happens in real time. The fans are picking those plays in real time. So it's honestly pretty cool to see that as well. In the 7-on-7, I mean, it makes for some exciting football, more open space for the receivers, more time, more deep throws. I mean, just pretty entertaining football, except you don't have the stars like the NFL has. So that's why it's not really a draw like that. But I mean, honestly, the XFL, it's got a future. It's got a future. And, the rules that they really are bringing in is pretty interesting. And the one rule I really am fascinated about is the onside kick alternative. Now, I'm sure you guys know what an onside kick is. They kick it. They have to kick it 10 yards to get the ball back in the NFL. It's honestly a very low chance of you getting the ball back nowadays because of all the rule changes the NFL has put in place. But in the XFL, there's no such thing as an onside kick. So here's your choice. You can do a 4th and 15 on like your 25-yard line. And if you get the 4th and 15, then you successfully got the onside kick. Now, the St. Louis Blue Battlehawks, not the Blue Hawks, they do have blue uniforms, though, which are honestly pretty sick. Another topic, the XFL uniforms are super cool. I think they're cooler than the NFL jerseys, just my personal opinion. But back to the 4th and 15. So A.J. McCarron, he is the quarterback of the St. Louis Battlehawks. And honestly, I think A.J. McCarron's a good player, and he's having an opportunity to shine in St. Louis, but he converted a 4th and 15, made a beautiful throw on the sideline, outside the pocket. He had pressure coming at him, and he just kept his head up, and he's got some arm talent. Like, I think if he has a solid season in the XFL, there's no reason why A.J. McCarron should not be a backup quarterback in the NFL. I mean, A.J. McCarron is a former 5th-round pick, literally one of the best Alabama quarterbacks of all time. This guy literally threw 15 interceptions in only 3 seasons of playing at Alabama. That is unheard of for a college quarterback. He threw for 9,000 yards and 77 touchdowns. A.J. McCarron was a really good player in college. He won a national championship. He was always on the number 1 ranked team in the country. I mean, he was the main reason why those Alabama teams were winning. And that's kind of what started this dynasty for Alabama, honestly, was A.J. McCarron. A.J. McCarron was that guy before any other quarterback stepped in Alabama. Now, he may have not panned out in the NFL, but I surely thought being a 5th-round pick was a steal for the Bengals at the time, but it just didn't work out. I mean, sometimes guys, they're not that good in college and they're good in the NFL. And sometimes guys are really good in college and are not that good in the NFL. It just, it kind of depends on, how you're. First of all, there's a lot of pressure being an NFL player. You have the quarterback's the hardest position to play in all of sports. It's not even close. I mean, you literally have to know what everyone is doing on the field. You have to know what the offensive line, what kind of angle they're blocking at, what kind of run the running back's doing, or if the running back's blocking in a play action pass, what kind of routes every single receiver is running. I mean, when they're in the huddle and you are giving out multiple signals, you say like X lion or Y zebra, those two things mean possibly run a route for the receiver or what the offensive line is blocking. He is telling each individual guy what to do. So it's very, very difficult, and it's the hardest position in all of sports. It's not even close. But, I mean, the quarterback position is very exciting in the XFL because A.J. McCarron is not the only guy that is a former NFL player, per se. I mean, they have Orlando Guardians. They got DeAndre Francois, who used to be a stud in college before he got in trouble. He's getting an opportunity. And then Paxton Lynch is also getting an opportunity in Vegas, and he has a chance to showcase his talent. He was a very high draft pick from coming out of Memphis. Literally, the Cowboys were trying to trade for this guy. Luckily, we didn't, but the Broncos got him, thought that he was going to be the franchise guy, and he just didn't pan out. Didn't pan out at all. I mean, this is why the XFL is so important, because you can develop players. If you don't go to college from the NFL, if you don't go to the NFL from college, don't be worried anymore, because there is opportunities for you to still play football. That's the thing, because you play, in the CFL, the USFL, and you just don't get any national traction. And no one can see you actually play. In the XFL, you're on ESPN. You are literally in the national spotlight, and you have chances to show and prove to everybody that you belong in the NFL on the national stage. I mean, do you not understand how big of an opportunity that is for a player? It's game changing. The XFL is changing the game. It's like, for basketball, you got the NBA, but if you don't make the NBA, you can go to the G League, you can go overseas. You got so many different options. And I think, the XFL is a step forward to that. I think there still could be multiple other football leagues like the NFL that can kind of feeder in players. And the XFL is definitely the league below the NFL just because of the volume of talent they are getting. But, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw some XFL players in the NFL this coming season. I mean, they're playing, they're in rhythm. Now, I'm not saying they're most talented, but you could definitely see a guy like Josh Gordon making to the next step. You really could see that happening. I mean, even Martavis Bryant. Martavis Bryant is another very talented receiver for the Las Vegas Vipers. And he was a stud on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, once again, he got in trouble with marijuana, but he was a very talented player and still is a very talented player. I mean, there's a lot of talent in the XFL. It's being slept on. I know they're considered backups, quote unquote, but watching football is watching football. And if you love the game of football, you will love watching the XFL. There's so many great coaches. There's so many great players, and the coaching is just unbelievable. I mean, you got Bob Stoops coaching the Arlington Renegades, one of the best Oklahoma coaches ever. And then you got Wade Phillips coaching the Houston Roughnecks, who's a former Cowboys quarterback, former Texans quarterback, and former Broncos coach. Excuse me, I said quarterback for both of those. Oh my goodness, what is going on with my brain right now? That was honestly a huge brain fart. But, Wade Phillips, he can really bring in a defensive mindset because he's a very defensive-oriented coach, always has been. I mean, Hines Ward, he's a former Super Bowl MVP, one of the best wide receivers of all time for the San Antonio Brahmas. I mean, all these guys that are coaching are getting super big opportunities. And even for the coordinators. I mean, all these coordinators on this coaching staff, they're getting very big opportunities to showcase what they can actually do against pretty elite competition. I mean, compared to the NFL, this may not be insane, but to other football leagues, this is very, very elite. I know there's only 8 teams right now, and I know the pool for the XFL is small, but in a couple years, mark my words, the XFL will at least have 12 to 16 teams because more people are going to want to buy in. More people are going to want to make more money. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if some NFL teams created an XFL team and made it like a feeder team for them, because that would be super smart if some of these NFL owners started doing that. And they should start doing that because it's just a hub for talent. I mean, you see it with Major League Baseball. You got AAA in there. That's a hub for talent in the minors. And then you can just pull a guy up whenever you want. Now, the only problem with the XFL is because the season is in a different time than the NFL. Now, I don't know if they could even make it during the NFL season because the ratings would probably be so bad and it wouldn't be good for them TV-wise. But, I mean, why not? Why not at least, try to make it like that? I mean, I don't know how that pull-up system would work, but it'd be very interesting. It'd be very interesting. And, these rules, once again, I'm going to kind of circle around back to the rules. If you guys don't know, the XFL is honestly trying every single rule that the NFL wants to apply or wants to see how it looks on the field. So the rule changes. I told you about the onside kick from the 25-yard line, the 4th and 15. 3 attempts to go for, extra point. There's no extra points. There's 3 different ways to get an extra point. Now, there's no kicking an extra point. So you can do a 1-point attempt on the 2-yard line. You can do a 2-point attempt on the 5-yard line, or you can do a 3-point attempt on the 10-yard line. Now imagine if you were down by 3 points after you score a touchdown, you can tie the game. That changes everything. Because now in some close games, a 3-possession or 3-point game is going to be a 1-possession game. That'd be pretty cool. I don't know if the NFL would ever apply that to their game, but that'd be pretty cool. Now, what I think they should apply is the 27 or the 25-second play clock. The XFL, the game is a lot faster. The NFL has 40 seconds, which is pretty slow. I think the XFL having a 27 or 25-second play clock is very smart. I don't know why I keep saying 27, guys. Ugh, I got to be on point here. But, I mean, honestly, all these rules, the craziest rule I've seen in the XFL, you can do this. Double forward pass. So if the guy catches a pass, right, from behind the scrimmage, he can throw it forward. What? I don't know if that'll ever be used, but maybe it will be. That would be sick, honestly. That would be super sick to see it be used. But the one thing I don't like is the receivers only have to have 1 foot to catch the ball in bounds to consider it a catch. I don't agree with that because if you're trying to make it to the next level, you should be trying to land it with 2 feet. Now, I have seen some guys, catching the ball with 2 feet and putting their 2 feet down, which is good practice. I mean, you want to get to the next level, you got to be practicing those kind of things. But I don't like it if it's a touchdown and it's 1 foot on the ground. I just don't think that should count. But it is what it is. I mean, I'm super impressed with the XFL, guys. I mean, I really think, this is a very, very important thing for anyone involved. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing, what they do beyond this season. I mean, this season is a very good, foundation for what they're going to be building in the future. But I think this is, I'm not going to say competition for the NFL, but maybe 10 years down the line, it could be. I mean, you see what's happening with the PFL and the UFC right now in the MMA world. Maybe that could be the same thing with the XFL and NFL. You never know. You never know. Never say never anymore, guys. Never say never. But this is going to do it for today's episode of the Take Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I really hope you did. I hope you subscribe and hit the notification bell, and go ahead and check out the take.sport.blog. Go ahead and read some of my articles. I think you would find it very interesting in what I have to say. But I'm your host, Jackson Burleson, and you have a great rest of your day, all right?